It's an iconic image, Jack the Ripper, the still unidentified killer who committed a series of infamous murders in London's Whitechapel in 1888. Did Jack the Ripper once stand a round of drinks here? The hotel was established in the late 19th century, and in 1888 a Mr. Deming leased the nearby Portmore House that stands on a hillside of the valley known locally as the Dargle. The valley's name comes courtesy of Thomas Fannin, who settled in the area in 1847, and coming across a stream which reminded him of the Dargle stream in his native Ireland, named his farm accordingly. And eventually the whole area became known as the Dargle. And it was here, in 1888, that Mr. Deming became a regular at the bar of the hotel, then called Singletons, after the family who owned and built it. Deming gained a reputation for ordering rounds of drinks and then forgetting to pay. But apparently he was a likeable chap, and this foible was overlooked, and a tab was opened on his behalf, presumably in the expectation he would eventually pay it. One day, Deming invited everyone to a lavish tennis party at Portmore, with catering laid on by the hotel. But when the bill was duly sent to Portmore the next day, it was discovered Deming had skipped, along with all his belongings, never to be seen again. Bill and bar tab remained unpaid. And so the tale of a thrifty English rogue entered the local folklore. But what is the connection between Deming and Jack the Ripper? Some years later, in the 1890s, someone from the Dargle, either a Fannin or one of the Singleton family, owners of the hotel, went on a trip to Britain, and while staying in London, visited the famous waxwork museum, Madame Tussauds. And there, in Murderer's Row, in the Chamber of Horrors, they found themselves face to face with a wax model of the man they knew as Mr. Deming. However, the waxwork bore the name Frederick Bailey Deeming, who had been executed in Australia in 1892 for the murder of his 4 children and 2 wives. But Deeming also happens to be one of the candidates for the identity of Jack the Ripper. During his time in South Africa, it's known he visited London, and he himself is said to have confessed to the Whitechapel murders prior to his execution in Australia. To date, nothing seems to have come of a recent plea by an Australian pathologist to have the DNA from Deeming's skull, which has been preserved, compared to DNA available from material evidence gathered at the scene of the Ripper murders. The identity of Jack the Ripper remains unknown. Until he has been identified, I would suggest you be wary when offered a drink in the Dargle.